as I cough, and that's the first thing that is recorded. Okay. All right. Hop on to the online curriculum. Are you ladies on there? I don't know.
I lost mine somewhere along putting it like on storage and sending it to Curtis somehow.
Okay. Do you want me to resend it to you?
If you could, yeah.
Let me double check you're still in here. Debbie, we are in section 3 today, the basic basic training in household manners. All right. Lori, what's the first few digits of your email?
Well, this one, I think, I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah, you wanted me to send it to a different email, didn't you?
Yeah, I think,
Here,
and that's why I don't really use that email. I use the Scooby
Hold on,
email.
I'm gonna pause the recording so he can join us whenever he can, or he can just ask questions later when I'm there at your house. Okay. Oh, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Okay, never mind. I still feel it, but I don't know. Okay, section 3. So anyway, I'm gonna actually just pull up on my screen so you ladies can see it together. That way, Lori, if it doesn't happen to work on your end, you can at least see it here, and then hopefully we can get it to show up on your.
Yeah, I see it. I see it on my screen here. It's
okay.
Not my email yet, but I see it on my screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to start here in the basics of training. This is lesson 1 under section 3. And if you've had a chance to go through it, do you have any questions about this? I try to give you like sample, commands that we use just so that everyone's on the same page and the dog doesn't get confused as to what you want them to do. We talk about the rules and boundaries and why they're so important, and then how you can still give a correction, still discipline your dog while being fair. Okay. Being calm and assertive, basically what I did at your house last time, Lori, there doesn't need to be shouting. There doesn't need to be any physical stuff. Okay. Just simple, hey, knock it off. Okay. Let's see. When and how to correct bad behavior. A sample daily routine. So basically this whole section is all about like, what are the basics of getting into training with your dog? Okay. For those of you, I don't know for you guys in general, just because of your situations and just starting out with training, but there are some common dog trainer words out there that might be confusing to general dog owners, like layman's terms, like what does that mean? So reactivity, in a general sense, that just means that the dog loses its mind when it's on a leash. Otherwise, it's not an aggressive dog. So there's a big difference between reactivity and true aggression. Okay, so a truly aggressive dog actually doesn't make a whole lot of noise. They're very quiet. They're predatory in that sense. They don't want their prey that they're going to attack to be warned that they're going to be attacked. Okay, so a lot of people see an aggressive dog that's like lunging and barking and going nuts at the end of the leash, i.e. Festus, and they think that he is aggressive. Well, I beg to differ. He's not acting the way he should, for sure, and he is acting in an aggressive manner, but he is not an aggressive dog, if that makes any sense. He is a reactive dog. He is reacting to things going around him. He doesn't think before he acts. Okay. A truly aggressive dog, like I said before, is not going to say much. They're going to zip it, and then they're going to attack with very little warning. And their attacks are very serious. Like they have intent to harm behind that attack, not just a lunge and bite and run. Okay. That would be a dog who lunges and bites and then runs is usually a fearful dog or an insecure dog that is just trying to create space around them and leave me alone type of thing. Right. A truly aggressive dog is going to actually grab on and not let go. Okay. There are obviously different variations of aggression. You have the defensive aggression, which I just said, it's a dog that goes and the dog that's nervous, insecure. Okay. They're going to bite and then let go and run away. Defense aggression, where offensive aggression is your truly aggressive dog that's going to go and cause harm. Okay. Doggy daycare syndrome or dog park syndrome, where you have a dog that can actually go and play with other dogs very easily and go to the dog park very easily. But then when it's confined to a leash or confined behind a fence, the dog goes nuts and berserk because they're trying to get to the other dogs. They look like they're going to cause harm, but they're not. They're actually really just determined and frustrated to get off of that leash or to get out away around that fence to go and meet that other dog. Okay.
That's what Festus does. Yeah.
And these dogs can get themselves into trouble because of how insistent they are at trying to get so close to the other dog that the other dog's like, whoa, dude, that is not how you say hi to me. And then they actually inevitably start a fight, right? But in Festus's mind, that's not where he meant to go. That's not what he was meaning to do. He just wanted to go and say hi, but his frustration got to the better of him and it started a fight. Okay. But those types of fights aren't really going to be serious unless the other dog that Festus was trying to say hi to was really not happy about it and was going after Festus to stop that from happening, right? But usually those are what we would call arguments. They just look mean, but they are arguments. Okay. Any questions about any of these general topics or headings?
No.
Okay, let's
I
move
think
on.
I've experienced all of them.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to the next lesson then, because there's a lot to unpack with this section. Okay. Lesson 2, crate training. So, Debbie, you have been super awesome at doing crate training off and on. Oh, and you're muted again. Sorry. Yeah, you can stay unmuted unless you have background noise, which I think my background noise is probably the loudest.
Your background noise is fine.
Okay, good. Okay, so crate training. Let's chat about crate training. And obviously this is not just me lecturing. I want you guys to ask questions. I want to have this be like a discussion type of thing. Okay. So pros and cons of crate training. Okay. Very few cons in my opinion, other than the fact that it does take a lot of time and it does take patience and persistence. So those are kind of the cons of it. The pros obviously vastly outweigh the cons. So obviously with and where you guys are at right now in your training, crate training may or may not be necessary. Okay. Mainly it's for potty training. Okay. Which obviously both of your dogs. Well, has Abe had any accidents lately?
Not lately. Not since
lately.
And you know, and he doesn't pee in the house.
Right.
It's
only number 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, I mean, crate training is definitely more for your puppies, right? For younger dogs or for puppies or for rescue dogs that you've rescued and you're just acclimating them to your new house, right? So I would definitely recommend crate training or some form of confinement just so your dog can get used to the new surroundings and also learn when and where and how often to go to the bathroom. Another reason though to keep doing crate training even for adult dogs, and I won't go into this majorly right now, but another reason is obviously you want your dog to be okay with being in a confined space, because there are going to be times in their life where they're going to have to be confined, whether it's a vet visit or going to a boarding kennel or getting put into one of the kennels at the groomer while they're waiting for their turn or after their turn of grooming, right? So in my opinion, I want to set my dog up for success, knowing that these might come up in his future. So I want to be able to have a dog that is comfortable and feels safe when it's confined. I don't know where that book is. I have a book somewhere. It's, you know what, I could probably find it here. Let's pull up Amazon. It's called Separation Anxiety versus Containment Phobia. There we go. Okay, this book is awesome. And this may or may not be for you ladies in particular, but just so that anybody who's watching this recording has this, separation anxiety and containment phobia are actually two different things. Okay, I want you to think of containment phobia. It's literally, in the human terms, claustrophobia. Okay, so any phobia, any fear of being confined or contained and not being able to get out and escape. Okay, so you must be able to differentiate between what is your dog actually feeling. Is your dog destroying the house or its crate and trying to get out of the crate because it actually has containment phobia and not separation anxiety? Especially these days, separation anxiety is used for a whole host of different behaviors, which is kind of losing its power. It's losing its definition as to what separation anxiety really is. Separation anxiety is just an anxiety, an anxious state of mind when it's separated from its pack. Okay. Most dogs who have separation anxiety, regardless of where you put them, whether it's in a crate or behind a door or just in the backyard, anything like that, that dog will continue that anxious behavior if you're not there. Okay. Containment phobia is the same thing situationally that the dog is in. If the dog is in a crate, obviously that's a major confinement. So the dog is going to probably panic and break out of it or hurt themselves or damage the crate. Another situation would be the dog. I'll give a personal example. Our tenants who live in our basement, they had an older dog who passed away since it's long gone now, but they used to leave their dogs. Their two older dogs when they moved in didn't need to be crated. They were very well behaved and stuff like that. But one day, one of their older dogs, she likes to get into the garbage can. So whenever the owners would leave the house, she would go and get into the garbage can, and they would come home and obviously there'd be garbage everywhere. And so they thought it would be clever to put the garbage can from in the kitchen into their bathroom, and then they closed the door. So but one day, I guess the door didn't close all the way and it was just opened ajar. So the dog went into the bathroom, jumped up on top of the dryer, which is where they had been keeping their garbage can, up on top of the dryer, and the garbage can fell down and it hit the door, the bathroom door, and shut the door. And now she panicked because she was confined.
See, I would have put the garbage can in the crate.
That's a good idea. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, Lori, you win points for that one. Genius. Okay, so you can imagine the scene that they came home to.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, I heard it. So I went downstairs and I checked on the dog, and I found her in the bathroom. She had ripped the drywall off of the wall. Yeah. So the drywall, there's still, which obviously they know they need to fix it before they move out. I'm not concerned about it at this point. Let them live with it the way it is. But yeah, she cut out a nice section of drywall trying to escape. And the door itself is scratched up and on the corner it's bitten and stuff like that. So anyway, so there's going to have to obviously need some repairs, but this is a dog who didn't have separation anxiety. She had containment phobia. And when she locked herself into the bathroom, she panicked. Okay. So fortunately we were home and I went downstairs and I let her out of the bathroom before she made even bigger mess. And I just left everything there. I was like, all right, they have to clean it up when they get home.
No, my bloodhound was a garbage picker,
Yeah.
and I would come home and there'd be everything from coffee grounds and filters to everything all over the floor. We had a Dutch door that I would lock with a hinge and he learned how to lift it with his nose and still get in there. I mean, when you have a scent hound that doesn't know his purpose,
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
an awful thing to be living with.
for sure, for sure. So did you do the whole crate thing? Put the garbage in the crate?
No, but with Festus, I went out and I bought garbage cans that have
The
closing
lids.
lids, so he can't just stick his head in there. But he does go in Curtis's office and garbage pick. He loves to chew paper. Loves it. You know, when we
He's
first
got a
got him,
paper fetish.
yeah, we get a delivery from Amazon and give him the box out in the yard and let him, that was his toy.
Oh, that's funny.
Now there's no boundaries. I mean, if you
Yeah.
mail and you bring it in, he'll take it right out of your hand. He loves paper.
He can take all the junk mail.
Yes.
So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that and say the difference between separation anxiety and containment phobia. And this is actually a really good book. I don't necessarily agree with everything that training wise that she recommends, but I totally endorse her idea of just make sure that you have a good foundation as to what your dog might have, separation anxiety or containment.
You put them in a crate, Sarah, and they're able to lie down and self-soothe. Doesn't
Mhm.
that eliminate containment?
Mhm.
Because once he's in a crate, I mean,
Yeah.
he'll bark for the first 5 minutes, but he's able to calm down.
I would, yeah. So Festus wouldn't have containment phobia then, because
Yeah, it's
so
definitely
dogs
separation.
who have true containment phobia, they can never be in a crate.
Okay.
You can work them so that they're comfortable in a crate for a few minutes, but I would never leave a dog that has containment phobia alone in its crate, because it's basically trying to fix a person who has arachnophobia, you know,
Yeah.
or
forget it.
claustrophobia,
That's
you know,
me.
somebody who can't ride in elevators, you know. So
Yeah.
it's unfair to force them to be in that situation, right? Now, obviously, then that means that you have to make sure that your other forms of confinement are such that, or you have to set up your house so it's basically dog proof, right? So that they can't get into things that they shouldn't while you're gone. And most dogs who have containment phobia can be rehabilitated to a certain extent to be okay with being in the house. There are some that can't even be in the house. They have to have a doggy door to be able to feel like they can go in and out and not panic. And then you might have to resort to having the dog on a bark collar so it doesn't just go in and out of the house barking its head off and being disruptive to your neighbors and that kind of stuff. But there are ways around it. It just takes a lot of time and commitment. Separation anxiety is actually not easy to get rid of, but it's a lot easier, a lot less time, and a lot less stressful than containment phobia. So anyway, okay, let's go back to this. So yeah, making sure that your dog is comfortable with confined spaces for other situations that they're going to be in their life. Anxiety or anxious and fearful dogs, actually, in my opinion, aside from containment phobia, in my opinion, dogs who are more anxious and more uptight definitely benefit from being in a crate. Having that nice and quiet place that they can feel comfortable in. And yes, that means you can only use your crate as a positive thing and not as a negative confinement type of situation. So if you have a dog that's anxious or fearful, you need to make sure that your crate training regimen is very positive and that the dog sees the crate as a positive and not as a punishment. Go here to think about what you did, type of this situation. If you need a place like that, then I would actually not recommend using the crate. I would recommend using like a laundry room or a bathroom or something like that, or a closet, to let your dog go to their quiet place to decompress and then come out and then go back to what they were doing before. But then using your crate as their confinement for when you need to leave the house or when they need to get away from the craziness of the goings on. So another Lunar's owner, the border collie with the white face, she needs a crate for when company comes over, because she gets extremely stressed and extremely anxious with all these people in her house. Okay, border collie. Okay, Too much chaos, too much stimulation, and it overwhelms her and she gets really anxious, and then she is more prone to actually bite someone. So her situation would be, yes, go put her in the crate, not because she's a bad dog, but because that is where she feels safest. Let her go to her crate and let her go and just relax and chill, and even cover the crate too, just so that she's not overstimulated by all the sounds and the visual stimulation. Okay. Sleep, extremely essential. Okay, especially in early development, but even for your older dogs. Debbie, do you remember how many hours of sleep do they need?
You need to be in their crate
Yeah.
for 2 hours for every hour they're out.
Yeah. Okay, so for a puppy, we're thinking between 18 to 22 hours of sleep. Okay.
That makes all the difference for
It
a.
sure did.
It just
Yep.
really made a big difference. But can we go back when you were talking about
Yeah.
Lunar, covering the crate?
Yes.
Abe is good about being in the crate when I can get him in there. We still working on. He goes in really well. I have the leash, that he just drags, or his e-collar is like telling crate then. It's like, okay, I know you have some. I can't play, but he can't play, but catch me if you can.
Uh-huh. So now you can touch him from a distance using the e-collar.
All I need to do if I just have the leash that he's dragging, the little 4-foot leash.
Even if you just touch it and pick it up, he's like, oh, dang it.
Reach towards it and he'll go in. And our previous dog, and so I think he's getting there. He'll get, it just like, I had a hard time getting it on sometimes. And on the collar, he stays still and lets me latch it on. And so I thought, okay, there's, it's just some things just take longer than others. But when I put him in the crate too, I've always given him a treat. And so after our last session, I'm
alternate.
not all, he gets,
Yep.
So we're hoping on that. But
do the 4 variations.
4 variations.
Yep.
But I have a blanket over his crate. And he is fine to be in the crate as long as I cover. So the blanket covers the top and 2 sides. It doesn't cover all the way in the back, so that
there's still airflow. Yep.
But I, when I put him in the crate, then I cover the front, the door as well. And he's perfectly fine. He will stay in there. We put him in there sometimes when we have all the family over, because he and the 3-year-old granddaughter they
create mayhem in the house.
One gets hyper and the other gets high, and they just kind of escalate. Or when I'm working from my office, but if I don't cover the crate, then he gets whiny. I wanted to kind of wean him from needing to have. Should I worry about that, or just?
If you had okay, I'm sure that you've had one in your all of your years of teaching. So if you've had a child who struggles with overstimulation, what would you do? How would you approach this situation? Would you want them to eventually learn how to act normal, or are you going to also help them learn how to navigate society by giving them what they need?
Yeah, well, my students, I'm wanting to give them choices too, as far as when you're overstimulated, how do you want to handle it? Where when I put him in the crate, he can't tell me if he wants that.
It's true. Well, he is to a certain extent, because he's whining.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Okay.
Whether it's the fact that maybe he's telling you, yes, you could read it as such that he's whining for attention, which he is, but also underlying that whining for attention, he's actually telling you that it's too much for him yet. Right? because he's not even 2 yet. How
No,
old is he?
he's 15 months.
Yeah. So I'd give him another year.
Okay.
Because right now, still developmentally, he's in junior high. He doesn't have the skill set that an adult does. Okay.
Okay.
You can definitely work on it if you want to.
I
Build
haven't
up.
worried about it.
Yeah, build up for just a few minutes or maybe 30 seconds of quiet and then cover the crate, and then 2 minutes of quiet and then cover the crate, and then 5 minutes and then cover up the crate. So you could build up his stamina, right? But at the same time, I wouldn't stress about it too much until he's another year older.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was a really good question.
Yeah.
Should you allow your, like, basically, I think your fear is that, are you giving him a crutch to lean on instead of actually learning how to deal with this stress of not being able to do what he wants to do? Does that sound right? So yeah, we don't want to give him a crutch, but at the same time, we also need to go at his pace. So how do you know? You don't. You just keep practicing. And if you backslide, like if his behavior worsens and you backslide, then you know, okay, I'm going to give it another few months and then we'll try it again. It's like potty training the kids.
Yeah, I had a overactive, ADHD, my son, when he was like in kindergarten, he was throwing chairs and breaking tables. And,
Yeah.
he had to meet before the board, and they wanted to put him in a special school. And I said no. And I took him to the doctor, had him test, sure he wasn't having food allergy reactions. And I wound up putting him on medication until 5th grade. And then when he was old enough, I took him out and I put him in karate and football. And the structure, the repeated structure helped him a great deal, because he didn't like the way he felt on the medication.
Right.
But it got him through the day. I mean, it was kindergarten. I wasn't putting him in karate in kindergarten.
Yeah.
It's not gonna stay with him. So I waited, my kid was the biggest one in the school, not in the grade. When he was born, he was 10 pounds, 2 ounces.
Oh my gosh. Lori.
24 inches long. And
my gosh.
And today he's like 6'3" and 240 pounds.
Oh,
So
how did you deliver that thing?
It was cesarean.
Okay.
It was a C-section. So, but I had to work with what they gave us back in the day, and then I educated myself. And as soon as I felt his brain was mature enough, I took him off the meds.
Yeah.
And put him in structured programs.
There you
and
go.
It really helped him, especially navigating, of course, his life out. So, it was a temporary fix until we could get to that what worked for him.
That's awesome.
Well, I think what they do is it's just easy and convenient for me to put him in his crate, close the door, and put the blanket over, because then
so is that a cop out for you?
in some ways, I think that's kind of what I've been worried a little bit about, is that in some ways it is. But Lori, as you talked about structure, I think
yes,
when it's time for him to, he can, like right now, normally on a weekday he's in his crate. Whether I'm working from home or not, he's in his crate. But on a Saturday, he's out running around. But when he starts chasing his tail and chewing on his tail like he did a lot when he was a puppy, then I know it's time for him to have a nap.
Go down for a nap and have some quiet time. Yep.
Yeah.
So he does let me know that way when he needs to go to his kennel. Which is
very good. Yeah, just give yourself a challenge, give yourself a goal that maybe in the next 6 months or so, this is something that you could try to achieve, right? And then break it down each month. How far are you going to get? How long is he going to be able to stay in the crate? And then just, goals are meant to change. That's okay. So just tweak it.
He doesn't he's fine. If I don't let him out, he's fine. He'll stay there. He might whine, but he doesn't do more than just a little bit of whine. It's a little, he whines and then he's quiet. Then he whines and he's quiet.
Mhm.
So it's not like he's really, really trying to get out.
He's not pawing at the crate or like I've had dogs that try to headbutt the door.
Paw a little bit, but if I don't let him out, he settles back down.
Good.
But he's just a lot more calm
Mhm.
if that because when I come home, I don't always first thing let him out. Sometimes I wait for I vary the time that I let him out.
Oh, there it was. Woo.
Bless you.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I get you. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so there are some exercises that you guys can do. Going into the crate, coming out of the crate. Most of you already know about that situation. Lori, we worked a teeny bit on that with Festus coming out of the crate. So you can go do that on your own. The homework assignment, working or teaching them the commands, and pick one or two. Don't try to don't use all of them. Just pick one that works for you and your family. Okay, the 2 hours in and 1 hour out, and then make sure that you play. Take some time to play with your dogs, regardless of how old they are. Pick a game that they love, even if it is catch me if you can. Just get down and dirty and play with them and be silly. Okay. So one thing that I always recommend, if you have a dog that's hesitant to go into the crate to begin with, is feed them in the crate, and only feed them in the crate. Okay. So the example I give is this cute little Grizz. Grizz was a French bulldog, and sorry, hold on. I hate commercials. Oh my gosh. Whoops. That is it full screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So Grizz, this little guy, he absolutely hated to go into his crate. So all we did was we started him feeding him in the crate, put the bowl all the way to the back, and he has to go all the way in. And for the first little few times, I left the door open. Okay. And then this is a couple of days after working with him, to where he will now go in and he will hang out in the crate without freaking out. And I can now close the door. Okay. Without him getting all mad and stuff that I actually locked him out. Okay. Another one was Brawly. Brawly is a Great Dane. So you can imagine how fun that was trying
The
to
size of the crate.
Yes. You can imagine how fun it was to try to get him into the crate versus this tiny little French bulldog, right? So getting Brawly to go into the crate and just ignore his ears, they were a mess. But we got to the point where we could just send him to his crate. He knew to go in. He knew that if he wanted his breakfast, he had to go into the crate. And then no sneaking. Get your head in there.
There, you had already already fed him in the crate for a while.
Yes. Yes. This was it was a few days. So I think this was day 4. So we had already been able to, if you're feeding him 2 or 3 times a day, over the course of 3 days, that's between, I'm terrible at math, but that's 9 times that he's had to practice this, right? So now I'm actually working with him to wait for permission to take the food. So he sees the bowl of food and he just goes right for it, where I'm asking him to be patient and wait for eye contact. Then he can go and grab his food. Anyway.
We do that when we're feeding Festus and Rue. They have to sit and say a prayer real quick.
Yep.
when
There
they
you
get their
go.
food.
There you go. Make those boys be good Catholic boys, right? I love it. I love it. Okay. Sophie's story, you guys can watch her video later, but Sophie really just was not motivated by anything, regardless. So I tried the food thing. She couldn't care less. she would rather starve herself than go into the crate. So it just came down to it where I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to have to teach you to go in regardless. And that was where I was using more of the leash, pulling on the leash and letting her decide if she's going to go in. And eventually she realized that she can't get away with it. Clark was a slightly overweight golden retriever. So even though he loves food, all right, I'll wait until this commercial's over. This ear
Yes.
swab thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna stop sharing that. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Ear swab thing. Oh my gosh. Let's watch earwax getting extracted. YouTube's gotten ridiculous, guys, with its commercials. So anyway, this is Clark. He's not chubby by any means, but he is slightly overweight, and food to him, he loves food, but he's also willing to still not listen because he knows he'll get fed later, or he has enough fat reserves that he just doesn't care. So with Clark, he would go into his crate, but he would immediately turn back around and be like, haha, you can't force me to stay in here. And so with him, we ended up just having to use a lot more commands in leash. So I'm just going to speed it up a little bit so you can see. So I was trying to, whoops.
You have a treat in your hand or no?
Nope, no treats. So he was not motivated. So I'm acting out this part. You can watch this on your own with the audio and everything, but I was acting out his previous when I didn't have the camera rolling to say, okay, this is what it was like. And then now we're going to start working him here to get him to go into the crate. Oh, here we go. Let me back it up again. So this is the second attempt. He goes right in, but he turns back around. And then he's really pushy with coming out of the door.
Something I've had to really work with. I still work with Abe when he gets to wait for me to tell him that he can come out.
Right. So Clark's biggest problem was when he figured out that he was off of his leash. So let me see if I can get to the point where I take his leash off, and he totally takes advantage of it.
But that would be Abe.
Uh-huh.
And he could take advantage of it because he's so little he can get between
Right.
people's.
That's like an apartment for Abe.
Yeah. It's a whole apartment. So I'm going to take his leash off. And then he just busts his way out.
Yeah.
Right. And then he starts throwing
That's
a fit.
Festus when we have company.
Did you see him using his paw there? Watch.
Yes.
See, he's flopping around. He's acting like, oh no.
That's
So-
Festus when we have company, trying to get him in the crate, and he won't stay on his place bed because we talked about that energy level. Like I have to be more exciting than what's at the door.
Right.
And he'll sit down and be dead weight right in front of the crate, and I'm trying to push him in, and he just won't go. But other times he'll go in on his own and lie down with the door open.
So
Abe
the
is
biggest thing with this situation with a dog like this, and Festus and even Abe, is you need to make sure that you're don't escalate the problem by becoming frustrated yourself. Yes, I know you are frustrated, but don't manifest it, right? So the biggest thing is to take a deep breath. If you need to, take a break, count to 10, and then go get the dog and say, get back in the crate. Who all here has been on a horse? Do you know
Long time, probably 40 years ago.
Do you know the old adage though? If you get thrown, what do you do? If you fall off a horse, what do you do?
Get back on.
Get back on. Why?
So you'll have a fear. You'll never go back on again.
Right. Or because you don't want the horse to think it won.
Oh.
Right. Both situations, right? It's for you to overcome your fear, right? And to also for you to not let failure defeat you, right? Failure is going to happen. You're going to fall off the horse, right? You're going to get bucked off, right? Or let's say it's a bicycle. You know, if every time you get up on the bike, you fall over, well, okay, you're learning. You're going to fall over. It's fine. It's just part of learning how to ride a bike. But if you never get back on a bike, now you're inhibiting yourself from growing.
And the bike won.
And the bike won. Exactly. So with the dog here, when you're teaching them to do something, maybe it's the crate, maybe it's the leash, maybe it's whatever situation you're dealing with, maybe it's the garbage can, Lori. Whatever situation that you're working on, do not let them, if you fail, don't let your failure defeat you from, or inhibit you from continuing to teach them and to learn, right? And also don't let their success determine your relationship with them.
Yeah.
See? Okay. So anyway, crate training, it takes a lot. I know it's a commitment, but it is super beneficial in the long run. Okay. So I'll let you guys read the rest of that later. Close that one out. Potty training. Debbie, I would just say maybe revisit this one if you're still having accident problems. It doesn't seem like you are, but yeah.
And I found, like in the morning, because he'll get up and he'll go, and
Yeah.
when he came in, and what I found is if I would bring him in the house, if he didn't take care of all business when he was out, if I brought him in and we played fetch for just a minute, he started.
Mhm.
And as he stopped running very much and he wanted to sit, it's like, okay, now we go out, and he'd go just like that.
Exactly. First things first. That was one of the things that, let's see.
So that's like his cup of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the first things that I teach is, I don't know if I have this written down in here. I'm not seeing it, but I'll just reiterate what it is. So when I teach my dogs that before they go play, before they go roll around in the dirt, before they go roll around and play in the grass and chase each other, or before they do any other things, they must show me that they've gone to the bathroom. First things first, go and get your duty done. Right?
Well, and I don't know if I was doing it wrong with it, but he would go out, but when it was cold.
Of course. Yeah. I was going to say that in the winter time, potty training sucks.
But when he was when and I would do it with my, my little boys too, when they, when they start moving, then they need to go, their bowels
Yes. Get them moved. Yeah.
get them moving, and then it's like,
That gets things going.
no, I gotta go now. So then I'd let him
Yep. Yeah. So
in.
with anybody that's struggling with potty training, or like their dog, like in your situation, Debbie, he will go out and he'll do it, but he won't finish. And then he'll come back in, and maybe 5 minutes later, there's a present for you. I would always, if you know that that's your dog's MO, I would make sure that you go and repeat step 7 until you know that they're done. Where, okay, you give them, like, seriously, do not go outside and stand with your dog for like 30 minutes to an hour waiting for them to go to the bathroom. No, give them the 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. If they have not gone, you bring them back inside and you put them in their crate or put them in their form of confinement, whatever it is, and then take them out 15 minutes later. And what you're doing is basically saying, this is your opportunity to go. If you do not take it, you do not get an opportunity to play. Okay. I treat this no differently than like a road trip. So I tell my kids when we're on a road trip, I'm like, you're going to the bathroom right now. But I don't need to go. Oh yeah, you do. Go sit on the toilet. We're not getting in the car. We are not driving down the street. In 5 minutes, you're going to say, I gotta go potty. Seriously? No, we're not playing that game. Get out of the car, go to the bathroom, go sit on the toilet at least. If you go, great. If you don't, oh well, at least you sat on the toilet. Okay. So that's what we're basically doing here in this situation is you're going to go to the bathroom, go sit on the toilet. If you don't go, that's fine, but you're going to get back in the car. Okay. Awesome. I won't focus too much on potty training, but
work on that now while it's warmer.
Yes. Yes.
Have that temperature.
Well,
so
and I was going to mention right now is the ideal time to start if you want this. Okay. Not everybody cares about this, but if you want this, start teaching your dogs to go potty in one spot. It is so nice.
Yeah, that is great, but with Rue, it's hard
With
because
Rue,
he's
yeah, I
an
totally get.
older dog and he can't make it far, so he goes
Yeah,
right at the base of the steps. So it's like a ball field. I've got third base right outside my front door, or my back door.
landmines,
It's just mud.
landmines.
Well,
Yep.
he pees and he kills the grass.
Yes.
So when he pees, I put down a bowl and this dog could clear it in the minute I
True.
put it down. That's
Yeah.
how much water he drinks. So, and his bladder only holds, maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So when he goes out, he's standing there. It's literally like a fire truck pump. He's just peeing. And I've got this big area of dead grass that looks like a baseball field, but I can't make him go to the corner of the yard. He's too old to do that.
Right. Right.
It's frustrating.
I think we'll end with this one just because we're getting onto the 1 hour mark. But when it does come time for Rue to pass on, and you do want to do this with Festus, I would recommend not trying to start it in the wintertime.
Yeah, no, I've been working with him now and I notice he is going in 2 corners of the yard, the
There you
furthest
go.
corners, which is great.
Perfect.
Because that's, if I was going to designate it,
That's where it would be.
Yeah,
Yep,
he's been
that's
really
where it'd
good
be.
that way.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Awesome. Any other questions? I'll stop teaching, and if there's any like last minute queries, maybe we'll let Debbie go first, since Lori, I'll be meeting with you in about an hour, and we can answer your questions there.
Well, I was just a little more about that's hopeful that we could work on the designated potty
Yeah.
even after the dogs are older. Because
Yes.
happy when we got him, for the first 2 months, he always did go in the same spot. And I thought, oh, hey, but, then he starts following Catahoula around. And
well, that's going to be a problem for you in particular, unless both dogs are taught to do that. Then it's honestly not, I wouldn't necessarily say fair, but it's not helpful. It goes against so if Abe sees your Catahoula getting to go wherever she wants to in the yard, and then you get after him for going in the other parts of the yard and not in the potty spot, just like with the situation with Festus and Rue, right? It's more difficult for them to understand, wait a minute, what, like, I'm smelling stuff all around the yard, but you're only I have to go over here, what? Right? So
I want a designated potty spot. I'm going to be the one that has to teach both dogs, not just,
Yep. Exactly.
That's what I felt with Abe when he stopped going just in the designated spot, because the Catahoula was all over. I thought, I can't, that's not fair to him.
Exactly.
I realized that if I really want a designated spot, it's going to be a lot more effort now, because and so but we can do it, right?
Yep, it can be done. Designated potty spot can be done. Give yourself a good month or two. So for those who do want to do it, give yourself a good month or two to actually start to finish to where your dog is actually comfortable with going out there on their own. Expecting them to do it in a few days or a few weeks is unreasonable and not realistic. It's like, I mean, it's no different than potty training your child, right? I mean, if there's a parent out there that has taught their kid how to go potty on the toilet in 3 days, sign me up.
I want to meet you.
Sign me up, baby.
I've always had the impression that the parents are the ones that are trained, not necessarily.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, it's not necessarily training the child. Like, I think most kids get the concept of going to sit on the toilet, right? But it's more of the parent learning what their cues are, because the kid doesn't know. They don't know how to recognize that sensation until the parent starts, that right there, go sit on the toilet.
Yeah, when Festus runs into the corner and stands there with his hands over his face, it's time to go.
Exactly.
About designated potty spot.
Yeah.
How size of the Catahoula and
The
or
space, the amount of space.
how big of a space would you recommend?
Well, so your Catahoula is probably about the same size as Bandit, right? Between 50-ish pounds.
I think she weighs about between 60 and 70 pounds.
Okay. I would give her a good 6 to 8 feet, like a 6x6 area, or you could make a skinny one. Mine's skinny. Do you know where have you been in the backyard to see where my designated potty spot is? It's like on the corner behind that tree. So it's longer, but it's still, what is that? I think it's probably 6x4.
Can you use it like a folding gate, like a
Yeah,
portable
absolutely.
folded fence, and then lead him out there and let him know that, and eventually you could take that folding gate down, I would think that, the ones that spike right into the dirt.
Yep. What are they called? X pens. So yeah, an X pen would be easy to set up. It's temporary. Eric, what he did was when we moved into the house, they had already had like a garden, which we knew that with dogs, a garden would probably be unrealistic. So the garden that they had, though, had these fence panels that were about 4 feet tall and had chicken wire on them, and they were just perfect. So he ended up repurposing those fence panels from the garden to the dog run. So anyway, you could use a kennel run if you wanted to get a kennel run, but I think that's a little overkill. I would just get an X pen, or you can do flags even, but definitely some form of fence barrier to begin with, and then gradually taking that away so that they still understand they still need to go over there in that spot. They may not have that physical barrier. It's like the kitchen idea, like with the tape on the floor, right? You can still, they start out with the tape on the floor to understand that they're not allowed to go across the barrier to the kitchen. But when you remove the tape, that's still the expectation. So anyway, I hope that helps.
Great.
Okay. Awesome, ladies. It's been a great chat. Thanks for joining. I'll see you, Debbie. We'll see you at the next pack walk. No, I'll see you on Tuesday. See you on Tuesday. And then Lori, I'll see you in 58 minutes.
An hour. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Bye, Debbie.
Bye-bye.